So I am here tonight to represent one part of Enspiral, and it's really arisen out of a question of what does servant leadership look like in a non-hierarchical distributed network of strong-minded individuals. So I will just tell you a little story of something that's happened in sort of the last 6 months of how we've come together to solve this issue of working out what and how we should be executing on our collectively set strategy. So this is Mastermind, which is a process that's sort of coming out of co-budget in order to work out what strategic aspects we should be working on in the coming year, really. Everybody gets a bit of money, or points, or whatever you want to call it, to then allocate to the streams of strategy that they deem most important. So you can see the ones, I don't know how well you can read it from the back, but just to work out what it is that we should be working on. One of the things that came out of that was the question around leadership and what does a chief executive sort of person look like in an organisation that isn't shaped like a pyramid. So what happened is that we put out what essentially we sort of refer to as an RFP for leadership. It went up on the internet, and anybody who thought they should or could have a go at working out what this should look like were invited to send in proposals in terms of how they would spend a certain budget that we had allocated out of the co-budget process that the video spoke to earlier. So people from a bunch of different places applied from New Zealand and across the world, and we then had a collaborative interview process where on Hangouts the short list of people got invited to just tell a bit more of their story of what they're at and what they're doing and how they could see themselves working at Enspiral. Following on from that, and as you can see sort of from the bottom up, there's a bunch of LOOMIO proposals that we worked on to make sure that whatever was being agreed, people actually could stand for, and it was decisions that were collectively made and set so that whoever was being chosen to work on this piece of work for the time being, people did agree with. So there was a bunch of agreement, conversation, disagreement, but engagement nonetheless on a process that overall took about 6 months to complete. We got to a point where we'd shortlisted, had gone through the shortlist of people, and I was one of the people who voiced that I really felt like it was a bunch of external people, and I felt that there should be some people from within the network who should be taking up that role. And essentially, as soon as you say at Enspiral somebody should, you sort of self-nominate to being that person. And here I am today telling you the story. But I wasn't alone in doing that. Chloe, who's just over there, equally put up her hand saying, I think we need some internal representation in this mahi. So here we are, having formed a triage of non-hierarchical leadership, if you want, which spreads from Christchurch and Wellington in New Zealand all the way across to Montreal, where Seb is based, who's the third, who couldn't be here today because he's too far away. But I guess it's just a little story to show you how we've come together to make these decisions and what it's really like on a day-to-day basis to try and get engagement and make important decisions together. So I hope if you've got any further questions in terms of how that went, or you want to know any more, let us know, give us a shout. The way in which we've been working is around forming experiments and hypotheses that we are wanting to explore. So one, for example, that I said we should explore is if we talked about Enspiral more publicly, would we get more inbound requests for information, interviews, work, whatever that is. So we launched that a couple of weeks ago. We've now got a Medium account, which is an online content publishing platform called Enspiral Tales, which you can look up, where a bunch of people from across the network are talking about some things that are related to Enspiral in one way or another. And it's just for us a way of making sure that all the learnings we do have are being captured and can be passed on to people taking on this piece of work in the future. That's all from me for now. Thank you.